whenever there's an episodic series, you can bet two men will talk to you. AJ Talon and Owen Finch give their thoughts on Owen and AJ Talks.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm hosting this time because we're doing another guessing game. Owen, I've done 3 and you haven't done any. But this is Star Wars guessing game because I'm a big Star Wars fan, have been since I was a little kid. And Owen, just as he knows stuff from like pop culture, like it's kind of hard to avoid some things in Star Wars. And a little bit from hanging out with me. We were talking about how compared to Ben 10 and Dragon Ball, you were more familiar with those compared to Star Wars. So I'm interested in seeing if you pick up anything during this.
Yeah, I'm interested in doing this too. I have to get my ass in gear though and make a guessing game because you've done like 3 of these now, and I've done like none of them. So I think yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think the main reason that that's happened too is every time the last thing we've gone to, like every time we start a new show, it's been like the thing that you've watched the most because Ben 10 was one, Avatar. Well, that was both out there. And then was Dragon Ball. You knew the most about that. And then the most about. And then everything else that, like, we've, like, started that reviewing.
Has been, like, mutual. Like, we couldn't do... We both seen Danny. We both seen Avatar. We both seen Rick and Morty, so couldn't really do one for that. I know we definitely talked about when we do, like, Wizards of Waverly Place, Walking Dead, wrestling. Those are going to be more, like, your picks because you're super familiar. And I just know a little bit from, like, hanging out with you or, like, whatever.
And also to we couldn't do Yellow Jackets because the trailer didn't really give you enough to really do a guessing game for. Like, I think I couldn't really come up with questions that were like
right because I'd only like it had either been like I knew too much where like there was no point in doing a guessing game, or I knew like literally nothing. So like you'd just be like throwing shots into the wind.
I don't even think they say their like names in the trailer either. So like I couldn't even.
Right. So I'm like. You're like, who's this? And I'm like, literally couldn't tell you. Fucking Bob.
Yeah. So.
And this one was hitting that line where I'm like, can we even do this one? Because I feel like Owen wouldn't know much. But I feel like I'm making enough fucking references to it where and like it's such a popular movie series where I feel like you have to have like heard a couple things from it.
Yeah. This is gonna be interesting too because. This is gonna
you'd have to be following Patrick Star and living under a rock to not have heard some stuff from Star Wars.
I think this is gonna be funny too because like a lot of our videos, you make like a Star Wars reference and then one in joke is I won't never get it. So this is once we start Star Wars, it's gonna end that like joke type of thing.
I know, right? Where I'm gonna actually be like, oh shit, Owen actually knows what I'm fucking talking about. Well, then again, I made a reference to Spirited Away and The Matrix in our last video, and you didn't know what those were either. I'm like, God damn it.
Wasn't there someone in GM named, like, that had to do with The Matrix or something? I didn't get the reference. Like, you had to tell me what it was. It was, like, Deanna Matrix or something like that. It was, like a reference.
Oh, that wasn't a Matrix thing. That was a sex thing.
Oh, I see.
Fucking sex, the best movie there is.
Well, there is movies about anyway, sex, so...
True, there are. That is not wrong. I remember going off topic already. I remember my dad told me American History X was a great movie. So me and my sister were like kind of bored. We're like, hey, my dad told me this is a good movie. We should watch it. Literally, first like 3 minutes are just uncensored sex, and we're like, okay, we're not watching this together.
Yeah.
But anyway, Star Wars. You know it. I know it. Well, actually, Owen doesn't know it. It is a movie about war set in the stars. Owen, our first question, besides about being war set in the stars, what are the plot and the main characters? And actually, Owen, to be a little more specific, what are the movies? Because you are familiar that there's different like types of Star Wars movies.
Yeah, so obviously I know the first one. It's called Star Wars: A New Hope. I remember there's one that's called The Empire Strikes Back. Do I have to say the chapters, or could I just say the movie?
Either or.
I think 6 is the Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. No, it's 5?
Yep.
Okay. So 6 has to be something like finale related, but I'm not gonna do 6. I remember there's one that came out like in 2015 because that's when I started college, and that was like pretty big, like amongst my friends, like when it happened. But I don't know the name of that one either. I know there's one called The Mandalorian. I know that's not. Well, it's not. It's a.
Well, it's a show. Yeah, it's like a spinoff. Yeah.
And like because my friends and I like went to Vermont, and they like put that on. I like watched it kind of with them, but kind of not with them because I didn't really know. Also, they stayed up really late one night and started like episode 1, and by the time I started kind of watching it like with them, they were on like episode like 4, so like I didn't really.
Reminds me of how when I was at my grandparents' house and I was like drinking a little bit, they had like a Walking Dead episode on, and I was like, vaguely coming in and out.
Right. Let's see. So Clone Wars.
Okay, so you've gone over like what the movies are, like the names of them. What do you think happens in those movies, or like who do you think the main characters are?
Yeah, so I know the main character for one of them is Luke Skywalker. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yep.
Because I remember he's in it. He gets referenced a lot, like in pop culture, like in Good Luck Charlie. I think this is probably the time Disney bought it, because Disney shows were starting to do like a lot of Star Wars references. They named
what did they say?
They named their baby like Toby, and obviously when they asked like his full name or like his last name, no, his middle name, his middle name was like One Kenobi type of thing, which is kind of
that's fun.
Which is a weird because I remember the whole thing in like the show was they did like a thing where like you could vote on what the baby's name was gonna be. So I don't they clearly rigged the voting, or someone voted for like Toby and they did something with it. I'm not sure which one happened.
Yeah, that's funny.
Let me think. But yeah, I'm trying because I remember I think I watched a movie like with my dad like way back in the day. I think Luke Skywalker and like Obi-Wan Kenobi like team up, but I think Luke Skywalker was like the actual main character. Darth Vader's the main villain in the first 3 movies. Well, you know what I mean. I know that's technically not the first movies that actually like came out. Chapter.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, you can say the first. I know what you're talking about.
I know it does. I'm just making it clear for like people that are gonna watch this video because then they're gonna be like, "Oh, what's
yeah." So I guess to clarify, people call like the first movies released the original trilogy, and then Owen, you didn't actually say it yet. So isn't there a set of movies set 4? What are they called?
Don't know. I have no idea.
The prequels.
Oh well, I knew that's what they're called. The prequels.
Well, like the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm saying like, yeah, not the names of the movies themselves. I just wanted you to be like, oh, and what do you call a thing set in the past? You know, like
well, I knew what that was, but I thought you like what they actually like called, like type of thing, like.
No. I was just asking you like what the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, I know the prequels are like how how Darth Vader becomes Darth Vader pretty much. So
yeah,
but
he just wakes up one day and like, I'm gonna be a dickhead.
And it, he did it he did like the first scene of the trilogy too. Like not just he's young, just decides he's gonna do that. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's like he's a good guy for 3 movies, and then like the last, it's like Goosebumps. There's a little twist at the end. He's such a nice guy, and in the last like 5 minutes, he's like, you know what? Maybe murder is cool.
But yeah, and the last 5 minutes of like the last like movie in like the trilogy type of thing too. Not just the obviously, because the biggest reason we're doing this, I know this isn't part of the guessing game, is Darth Vader, his voice actor like died type of thing. So that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, James Earl Jones, unfortunately passed away earlier this year. So similarly, that's why we started Dragon Ball, was because Akira Toriyama died earlier this year. I mean, that's not the only reason why I like Dragon Ball and I wanted to do it, but that's why we ended up, like starting it this year instead of next year. And then similar, I think we were debating on starting Star Wars next year, and then when James Earl Jones passed away, we were like, we should do the first one at least.
But I think the plot is that Darth Vader like wants to take over like the galaxy, and like Luke Skywalker has to stop. I don't know why Luke Skywalker has to do it. That's the only thing I don't know. Like why him? Because obviously we find out later that like he's his son. That's like the big twist. But I don't know like why.
Oh, Owen. Spoilers, Jesus! It's not like one of my questions later on is literally explain the "I am your father" thing.
But I don't know like. Because obviously we don't find that out till, so I don't know why specific. I'm gonna guess because like he's like one of the best people when it comes to like using the lightsaber and like a really good warrior. But why he's chosen, but I don't know why specifically he's, because that is kind of weird. Like they obviously have to write another reason why he was picked, because that's kind of coincidental. If what a coincidence, his son just happens to decide to stop him, type of thing. So I kind of hope they have like a good reason for that he wasn't just like They just bump into each other one day or something, So
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, they're just they're at Walmart and they kind of bump into each other. Yeah. Well, Owen. So Obi-Wan and Luke team up as you said. I'm a little curious because you're a big Family Guy fan. If you remember, Family Guy did a whole 3-part episode going over the original trilogy.
I never watched any of them because I figured I wouldn't really get any of the jokes since I never watched the original stuff.
I was gonna say, oh, did you watch it? And you're like, no. I'm like, oh, okay.
I do remember there was a joke that like they got sick of doing it. I think it's like the last one, because I remember the joke is anytime the power goes out, like in Family Guy, they end up doing like a Star Wars thing. Like the beginning of the other one, they like didn't give a fuck, so they misspelled something like in the title credits, or like the family got really pissed about it, like in Family Guy type of thing. So
yeah, I do remember like at the end of the third one, Chris asked, "Hey, what about the prequels?" And then Peter said, "I'm pretty sure the Cleveland show is going to do those."
Oh yeah, 'cause that's like the reject Family Guy spinoff. So
yeah, and they never ended up doing it. I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, they got because it got canceled. So
yeah, I know. And Peter makes quite a few Star Wars references. You were just talking about Peter's dad a little while ago. Do you remember when he came back as a ghost? Peter asked him to make a Star Wars quote.
Yeah, I don't remember. I haven't seen that episode in so long, so I don't remember what episode that would have been.
Okay then. Well, because we're talking about a lot of references to Star Wars in other things, I want to mention the importance of Star Wars, like outside of in our world. So Star Wars came out the original one came out in 1977. And I know it's called A New Hope, but that title actually came later. Yeah, at first it was just Star Wars, but then when they started making more of them, they added the A New Hope one to the first one.
Okay.
Because it's like it'd just be confusing for people.
Yeah.
They added a subtitle to the first one. And yeah, man, this movie was crazy important. It was it's funny. Joseph Campbell was a guy who created the template of the hero's journey, which was something he picked up on. He noticed in a lot of stories, like even in mythology, that characters typically hit like certain steps in a story, like so he called it the hero's journey.
Yeah.
And Star Wars has kind of become like the poster child for the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like people, whenever they want an example of the hero's journey, they'll typically point at Star Wars. It also created cemented the Hollywood summer blockbuster.
Okay.
Like that became like a staple after Star Wars of like big, explosions, heavy, like action movie, like set, like coming out in the summertime.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Star Wars kind of expensive.
That always happens.
Yeah, so Star Wars was like the really first big one that came out. Sci-fi and space operas became huge after this. Star Wars wasn't the first movie set in space, but they definitely like picked up after. They were it didn't quite get to like the Wild West genre, but a lot of space movies were coming out after Star Wars.
Yeah, like Star Trek. I don't know if that's a Star Wars thing, but I don't know, but Star Trek's a thing.
I'm pretty sure Star Trek was first.
Oh, it was first?
Pretty sure. because it was a TV show. That's why I'm saying like you know, it wasn't the first space opera or like sci-fi show to come out, but it really like got you know, like picked it up.
Yeah, like basically, kind of like we talked like Dragon Ball. Like we talked. I asked you if it was like the first anime, but it was like the first anime in America, type of thing.
Yeah. It was like it wasn't the first anime, but it was like definitely the one that like got international attention.
Yeah.
And you know, to make some things that have you know referenced Star Wars, obviously Family Guy did a whole 3-parter, you know, parodying the original trilogy.
Should I guess more?
Well, I was gonna. Do you want to mention the Toy Story one?
Obviously Zurg from Buzz Lightyear's villain. Is very Star Wars inspired. He does the "I'm your father" like quote. I mean, you can make the argument the whole thing that happens in Toy Story is very much a Star Wars thing because the fights happen like in space, pretty much, and everything like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think Buzz Lightyear was originally like a Star Wars reference, but like Zurg and like you know the "I am your father" thing are definitely Star Wars.
Especially because you know we're gonna talk about this when we do the Toy Story review, but you know, obviously we saw the Zurg wasn't even originally supposed to be drawn that way. He was like a comedic villain, so it's kind of funny that happened.
Yeah, they made him like communicating, like robotic. Because I'm pretty sure Buzz was like a Star Trek reference, you know, because he's like a space ranger and like he's like things like that. I think that's more Star Trek. I don't actually know much about Star Trek, but that's like my basic knowledge of it.
And then, but obviously Zurg's the biggest Star Wars thing. He's pretty much Darth Vader. But yeah, there's a ton of Star Wars references in other media. Obviously, in all of Dan Schneider's sitcoms, Drake and Josh, iCarly, instead of saying Star Wars, they'll call it Galaxy Wars, and it's pretty much Star Wars, except they change. I think they changed like the names of the things. Like they have the robots that they call Skynauts, but I'm assuming they're not Skynauts. They're like something else that, or like there's someone named Princess Labangada, and like one of them, it's probably a reference to another princess whose name I don't know.
Yep.
And obviously the lightsabers, they pretty much kept that the same. iCarly, you know, pretty much shit on Star Wars, because shit on in the sense that, like, they made it seem like only nerds really... I know it's a big nerd thing, but, like, they really...
I know they had it where they go to Comic-Con. I was like, I know there's a couple Star Wars references in that.
Yeah. And that's Declassified. I don't know if you know this show, but, like, they have a thing where they play dodgeball, and Cookie like joins like the bad side of the dodgeball team, and he's wearing like a Darth Vader like outfit during the dodgeball game. It's funny too because he takes the helmet off and he's just like, I can't believe in this thing. And there's like one point where like this is probably Star Wars references, like he's thinking of like all the good times like him and Ned had together, and then he just thinks like, what have I become? That's probably a Star Wars reference.
Yeah, no, not exactly, but yeah, I kind of see what you mean.
Obviously Disney Channel, like, and like Disney loaded their shows with Star Wars references because Disney bought them.
Yeah, I do think it's funny that Cookie said he can't breathe in the helmet, you know, because like the purpose of the helmet in Star Wars is to breathe.
Oh, okay, so
I think that's the joke, is that like in Star Wars he needs it to breathe, whereas in, you know, Ned's Declassified he can't breathe with it on.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if Zoe 101 did a Star Wars reference. Because it seems like you always have to. I hate to say this too. In all of Dan Snyder's shows, you always have to look to like the nerdy characters to see if they're the ones that make it, because that's typically the case. Yeah,
kind of the stereotype. Yeah.
I can't think of anyone that like. Oh, obviously. I mean, I going back to iCarly, like there's the episode where like Spencer purchases like one of the ships from Galaxy Wars. Like he thought it was like the real ship from the movie, but then he found out like it was just a replica type of thing.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be a reference to like the Y-wings in Star Wars. You don't know what a Y-wing is, so never mind.
Could obviously anytime anyone does anything like lightsaber related, could in LVB, I know it's technically not a Star Wars reference, but Halo, like the sword, that could be a Star Wars. Is that?
I was going to say, in Red versus Blue, if you remember, remember in season 5, Church goes into Cabooses' head. and he wants to borrow Tucker's sword because he's like, wait a minute, Caboose is too dumb to understand. Like only Tucker can use it.
Mm-hmm.
So he uses the sword. He's like, awesome, I'm like a fucking Jedi.
Yeah.
So that's us.
In Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, they do a lot of shows will do like the Jedi thin type of thing to like get them to do what they want or something.
Okay, be specific.
Like
Jedi thing, and you do this. Come on.
Like they'll do this, and for some reason, like it mind controls them to like make them do what they want them.
Okay,
to do.
I was gonna say like what does that do? Yeah. Okay, so Jedi can do something to control people's minds.
Yeah, I just know this, and then like, but like the joke there was like, obviously it's like it's not supposed to work, but they did it in like London and Sweet Life on Deck, and obviously she's really dumb, so that's why it did work. Like that's why it worked.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
they I'm pretty sure one of the Toy Story like toys is a reference to like the robot in like Star Wars, because like you're gonna see when you watch Toy Story again. He's not that robot, but like he has like he's like designed like that robot and everything like that. So he shows up very quickly. So like you're gonna probably you blink, you miss him.
I don't even know which one you're talking about. So
yeah, he's not a big character, but I remember because I think he had that toy as like a kid too. So
maybe
it's R2-D2. That I just
okay.
So you have that.
Because there's a few robots, so I'm like, I don't even know which one you're talking about.
And there's one that's like a butler. He's like yellow and talks like in a British.
Okay.
I think
I know who that is. Yeah.
And he's referenced a lot. Like anytime you see like a rich guy like in a movie, they'll have robots, and he's designed like that person. So
yeah. So Owen, you mentioned R2-D2. Who's he? Like, what's he about? Is he a good guy, a bad guy? Fucking just killing everybody.
Oh, I missed one in Fairly Odd Parents, by the way. In the episode where the darkness shows up, they pretty much do like an exact like Star Wars like reference where they go to like a Star Wars like place. Oh, obviously Timmy Turner's like one of Timmy Turner's videos is Dark Laser.
Yeah,
so
and if you remember Jimmy Neutron, not Jimmy Neutron, Johnny Test did a similar thing.
Oh, I don't think I saw that episode of Johnny Test.
Okay, he has a villain called Darth Vegan.
Okay. Oh,
and he's dressed like Darth Vader, but he's a vegan.
By the way, I know this is opening a can of worms, but I know Jimmy Neutron when they did the play. What's the name of that play that they do?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's Macbeth, and that's not really similar to Star Wars, but yeah, they were using like lightsabers.
That is was that a Star Wars thing? Was that supposed to be a Star Wars?
Well, Macbeth is an actual play.
But I assume the lightsabers then that's
that was
yeah. Which is kind of weird. Like they did like they're going to see Macbeth and they see like a whole They basically just
I think that was like the joke is that it's like Macbeth in space, so they just like combine Macbeth and Star Wars.
I'm trying to think of other things in like pop culture. Yeah, I can't think of anything else in pop culture.
Okay. Well, to mention a couple more things, Avatar, I've mentioned a few times in Book 2, The Guru. That is heavily inspired by The Empire Strikes Back, or it's very similar, at least, the structure of it.
Okay.
I guess to be as vague as I can, Aang goes to seek an old wise master who knows more about like energies and shit. And he kind of teaches him about like, and it's heavily inspired by like Eastern philosophies and like martial arts. And at the end of it, when he needs to like stay there and continue training, he gets a vision that his friend is in trouble, and he leaves early, even though the old master tells him he has to stay.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
that is pretty much beat for beat what happens in Star Wars.
And that's like one of the best things in Avatar. So like
Yeah, and well, that's why I think a lot of people call Book 2 like that's kind. It's very similar. Where like it's like the low point.
Yeah.
Like they don't really come out of Book 2 as the winners.
Right.
Yep, and then Mobile Suit Gundam. I've talked about this a little bit. I was like, if you like Star Wars, maybe we'll do the Gundam movies. So Gundam basically, it's an anime trilogy, and it came out in 1979, so only like 2 years after. And it's a bit more grounded than Star Wars. Like there's no like aliens or anything in it, but it is set like a couple hundred years in the future when humans have like colonized like space, like the solar system.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and the villains are very similar to the Star Wars villains because they both take a lot of reference from World War II.
Okay.
And a big thing of that is so like they pilot like these like big robots, like that's supposed to be like the future tanks essentially.
Okay.
That's like the mobile suits. And they wield big fucking laser swords, so obviously a Star Wars reference there.
Yeah, I don't even know those movies, so I can't really comment on that. So
right, so I just wanted to point that out because I really like Gundam because I like Star Wars essentially. They are very different. It's not to say that they're one for ones, but you can definitely see some inspiration there. Like I was saying, Gundam's a lot more grounded and like darker, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I
was trying to think.
And both are.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say both start out similar, where like younger guy like getting involved in this like big like space war. Although Gundam's a lot darker because it's dealing with like what the PTSD of that is like being a young like teenager or like a late teens like fucking having to deal with these crazy wars and he's like holding himself up in his room and he's like having PTSD of like I don't want to fucking fight, So I guess Gundam would be like a more realistic Star Wars, I guess would be what I'm mentioning.
Yeah. Phineas and Ferb, by the way, I think they do an episode where it's just Star Wars. So,
most likely they did a whole Marvel thing because they're both owned by Disney.
Yeah, and I think it was like towards the end of Phineas and Ferb. So,
yeah. Okay, so my next question was gonna be what are the originals and prequels, but I'll come back to that if you can answer the next couple questions. What are the Jedi and what are the Sith?
Did I answer the Jedi question? I know they can like mind control people to make them do what they
want. But like more specifically, like what do they do? What are they about? Like good guys, bad guys, neutral? Like what are they?
I'm gonna say the bad guys, considering the fact that if you can typically if someone's mind controlling somebody, that's typically not like a good thing. It's more into it. I feel like it'd be more interesting too if you're like a bad guy too. Like I feel like a good guy wouldn't really use that power. I feel like a villain would typically use that power. But yeah, what are they about? I'm gonna say like they're working like with Darth Vader and kind of helping him out to like take over the world. Yeah, I think that I think Darth Vader kind of like I think they were always around, but Darth Vader kind of like kind of got like a bunch of them like in his army so that way like he could mind control people and make it so that way he could kind of take over the world easier type of thing. So
okay.
Probably totally wrong, but it's what it is. So, and
the Sith, because I mentioned the Jedi. So, what are the Sith?
Yeah, I have no clue what the Sith. I've never even heard of the
Sith. Yeah,
Sith.
that was interesting because I feel like most people like have heard the word Jedi before.
Yeah.
But like off camera before we started, you were like the Sith, the Scythe, the Sith. And I'm like, yeah, the Sith.
Yeah.
So I kind of figured you wouldn't know what that one is. Well, on the topic of the Jedi and Sith. Lightsabers and the Force. So, what are the lightsabers and the Force? Can anyone use it? Do like is it only Jedi and Sith, or like everyone, or like who wields lightsabers? Like, what are they about?
Obviously, lightsabers are like a sword that like lights up.
No, you're Owen. Are you telling me there's sabers made of light?
Hey, you asked what the question is. It says, what is a lightsaber?
I know. I asked this question, you answered, I shit on you for it. That is funny.
I remember, obviously, it's a big thing. It's probably the most bought thing, like, like Star Wars, like, merchandise is, like, the light. I remember, I think you had, like, a bunch of them when you were young.
Yeah, like toy ones.
Yeah, I make it sound like it had like the real lightsabers. Like,
Yeah, I could actually fucking cut someone's head off with it. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. By the way, the Drake and Josh universe, they were probably just props, right? They weren't like the real lightsabers, right? Because because
Believe it or not, I'm guessing they were not actual lightsabers.
but like they were supposed to be props, but they lit up like they were like real lightsabers, which is just really weird. So, I think anybody can use the lightsabers because you see the robots use them all the time. Darth Vader can use it. And Luke Skywalker uses it. I think anyone could just like use a lightsaber.
Okay.
But I think with the right training, you could. It's. I'm referencing Shane here, but like it's like that conversation that Shane and like that little kid's mom have, where it just depends on it's like a gun type of thing. It's just
right
how you
and
use
hand a gun to a fucking 3-year-old is gonna be blasting it everywhere. Compared to like a soldier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what about the Force, Owen? What's that?
So that's like you could basically like control someone's like movements and body parts and make them like float around using like I want to say mind control, but like using like your hand and like without even like touching them or anything like that.
Okay, so you can move things around with the Force. You mentioned earlier the mind control. Is that related to the Force or is that separate?
I'm gonna say that's separate. I think it's like the blood bending more so in like Avatar, where like you kind of
okay. So you think it's like different bending where they're like separate things? Okay.
Yeah.
What about lightsabers? Is that connected to the Force or is that like separate? If you said everyone can use lightsabers, do you think that's connected to the Force or is the Force separate? Can anyone use the Force or is that separate?
I'm gonna say that's like separate. I think only like certain people can use like the Force because I feel like some people use the Force, but others just use like the lightsabers. But I think everyone can use the lightsabers, but I think there's like a technique that you have to learn to be able to use like the Force.
Yeah. Okay. Don't let Disney hear that.
Oh, so did Disney get it wrong?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, we'll get to that when we get to it.
Let's say that. Am I closer to Disney or am I completely off the mark?
You're wait. What do you mean? If are you off the mark or okay? So you had it pretty right.
I know, but you just said don't let Disney hear that. So I'm asking like, am I closer on
the
mark?
So yeah, Disney was kind of off the mark. Yeah.
Okay. So
with a couple.
Did I get like a pretty significant like thing wrong? You're just keeping from me type of thing, or like am I pretty?
You got a couple things wrong and a couple things right, Owen.
And what did Disney compared to that? How did Disney do?
Oh, Disney did quite a few things wrong, Owen. They did quite a few things wrong. Sorry if you like the sequels and you're watching this. I do not like the sequels. I'm sorry, but not sorry. They suck. That's not even just a lot of the stuff Disney has done has been pretty ass.
Did Disney get anything right, or did they get or no?
The effects are kind of cool sometimes.
I'm saying with the Force because we're talking about the Force specifically.
Force, not really. No. They fuck up that a lot.
So I got more things right with the Force than Disney did.
Yeah, than Disney. I know, right? You did better than the $1 billion company, Owen.
Maybe I should put this to use then. If Disney can, I've never even seen the show and like Disney, like
I know, right? Yeah, you who's like seen maybe 5 minutes of Star Wars. It's like, okay, make something, and you can probably do better than Disney. Going back to question 3, the originals and prequels, now that you've kind of like said a couple things. So you already said Darth Vader is the villain of the original trilogy, and the prequels are about how he became Darth Vader. I guess you want to get a little more specific of like some things you think that happens in the prequels and the originals. Whether it's related to Darth Vader or not. Like what do you think happens to him?
I know this is later on, but I know a pretty big spoiler that happens in the prequels. I don't. Can I just say it now, or do you want me to wait? I know there's someone. I don't know what, like even who he is, or like anything about him. But I know like there's someone that. Because I remember that this was pretty big when I was in college. There's someone named Chewbacca that like dies in one of the prequels. I don't know which one, but
no.
Is that the sequels?
No.
Oh, well,
That's not anything. There's
somebody,
a guy named Chewbacca, but like he doesn't die.
someone told me there was a like. So maybe someone told me in school like Chewbacca like died in one of the Star Wars movies.
They lied to you, I guess. I'm not even bullshitting you here, like to throw you off. That's just not right.
I swear to God, like, I don't think he's a big Star Wars fan, but like he mentioned he saw the movie, and like I think in one of my videos, like it's like a wrestling video, he was like doing like a moment of silence for like Chewbacca and all that type of stuff. So
Chewbacca's actor died a little while, like a couple years ago.
well, was this in 2015? Because that's like when that would have been.
Yeah, like around that time.
Oh, okay.
So it was probably like the guy who played Chewbacca.
Yeah, that's
referencing.
That's not what he said though. He said like Chewbacca like died, like in.
Oh, okay. Well, no, Chewbacca's actor died.
But maybe that's what he meant though. He meant like his actor died, but then like he said Chewbacca died.
We got off topic a little bit, but I guess since you know Chewbacca, do you know anything about him?
Again, I said I have no clue. Okay,
you don't know what he looks like. Is he, no, nothing.
No, I just know
That's his name. Okay.
And I guess he's not dead. That's good.
Apparently, yeah, I guess so.
That would have been awesome, by the way, if I just never said anything and like waited. You
were just waiting for the moment, like, oh, he's gonna die any minute now. He gets through all the movies, it ends, and you're like, what? That's it? Doesn't he die? I'm like, what? No.
I should have just never said anything. Like,
yeah, I know.
Well, you should have just kept it vague. Like, I guess he just wanted to not leave me down the wrong path. Like,
well, because again, I'm just like, okay, it'd be funny, but like, I don't want him to watch all these movies waiting for Chewie to die, and you're like, what? That's it? As funny as that would be.
I would have gotten invested in him as like a character too, knowing he's gonna die, and then been like,
and then it doesn't happen. You're like, what?
So like, is he even a big character too? No.
Yeah, he's a pretty big character.
Okay. So that would have been funny then. I'm like, I would have gotten I probably wasn't even gonna get invested in him as a character because I was gonna know he was gonna.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, I don't want you to get like not be invested because you think he's gonna die. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So going back to the prequels and the originals, like, what do you think the story is for like that? Again, you already know prequels is about like younger Darth Vader and he becomes Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And you already know Luke is his son. How do you think that happens? Do you think he just, like, how do you think he just grew Luke in a Cabbage Patch, or do you think he made Luke the normal way, or like, what's up with that?
Well, I did see a little bit of like I think the first of like the prequels. And I remember, there's a couple of people that, like, stop at that, like, village. And, like, the first half of the movie is, like, about whether or not, like, Luke is gonna... Not Luke, Anakin is gonna, like, go, like, with them. And I never got to see the results of that. I think we turned the movie off, like, midway through. So.
They just leave him there, and I guess he doesn't become... It's literally of, like, what if Hitler got into art school? Okay, that's how we're all too. Nice. They just leave Anakin. And they're like, okay, you know what? We're not going to take this kid with us. It's like, oh, cool. I guess that solves a lot of problems.
But I don't even remember like who like any of the kids like even any of the guys are. I just called them kids. Like they're like, but like I don't even know who like any of the guys are that like show up to like go pick them up. Like I don't even know why they're there to begin with, type of thing. Yeah. So
okay, so you know about Luke and Anakin. You mentioned Obi-Wan. How do you think he's in all this? You said he teams up with Luke. Was he a thing before he met Luke? Was he a character after? Like what do you think was up with him? Because you said he's an older guy, right? So like, what's up with him?
I'm pretty sure he fights. Because I remember I watched this movie like when I was younger. I'm pretty sure it might not be him. I'm pretty sure Obi-Wan fights Darth Vader, and I think he dies in that fight. Because I remember a pretty big character died in that fight. It was pretty sad. I mean, I wasn't sad, but I remember it was pretty sad.
You're like, fuck this guy. I never liked him anyway.
I mean, I was young though, so I was like indifferent on it, type of thing. So,
yeah.
But I'm pretty sure. I don't know anything about. I don't remember anything about his backstory, but I'm pretty sure Obi-Wan. I'm just gonna guess that he dies at the end of like the very first movie.
First Star Wars? Okay, yeah, of the originals. Okay. I guess, so going back to like what the prequels and originals are about, so you said you think in the original trilogy, Darth Vader is creating an army that can mind control people. Why do you think he's doing that?
He wants to take over the world.
Okay, cool. Oh, okay, but why?
Oh, why does he want to take over the world?
Yeah. Again, I was joking earlier. Do you think he just like woke up one day and he's like, you know what? I want to be a dick. You know, like what's up with him?
Yeah, so something has to happen in the prequels to make that happen.
And I mentioned Owen that Cookie saying he can't breathe in that helmet is funny because he needs that to kind of breathe a little bit. So what's up with that suit he wears? Well, I mean, you were talking about robots earlier. Darth Vader obviously isn't a robot because he has a fucking kid. So like, what's up with him?
Yeah.
Why does he wear that?
Hmm.
Again, unless he grew Luke in a fucking Cabbage Patch.
Why is he wearing that suit? So I do remember something. I think when we would play lightsabers as a kid, I'm gonna guess that like during a lightsaber fight, he took like doing some type of battle that he had like in the prequels. He probably took like really big damage to like his throat that caused him to have to like wear this, or like to his body that caused him to have to wear this suit. I'm saying the throat particularly because he has to wear this suit to like breathe. So,
Right.
I'm gonna guess he took like some really big damage like to his throat, where like he has to wear this suit all the time, type of thing. Mainly his lungs, obviously.
Throat, lungs, all that good shit. All that good shit you need to survive. Okay. Well, so obviously if he's the villain of the originals, and the prequels are about him becoming the villain, I guess like what do you think, who do you think is the villain of the prequels, or like how do you think that's related?
I know, I never saw any of that.
Because it'd be a little weird if he was if the story of him becoming the villain had him the villain.
Yeah, and they have to have a villain obviously too, so
because like in Avatar Book 3 where Zuko's not really the villain anymore, obviously they had other villains.
For the lulz, I could say Chewbacca because that'd be funny if he was the villain.
It was Chewie all along. I knew it. It's funny because you don't know who Chewie is. That's so funny to me, thinking of Chewie being secretly the fucking evil mastermind behind everything.
I'm gonna say he goes to like training, to use the Force, and then we find out the big twist at the end is like his trainer is like the main villain, at the end. Like at the end of the first movie, and then like I want to say there's not really a villain in the first movie. It's just kind of introducing the characters, but like I feel like there's gonna be a villain in that movie that's like building some type of army, and then like when Anakin goes to learn the Force, his trainer is the villain. So.
Mm-hmm. And do you think his trainer is still around when he's Darth Vader in the future, or do you think something happens to that trainer?
I'm gonna guess that originally him and he trained Darth Vader to like everything he knows, and I'm gonna guess that that Darth Vader stabs him in the back. I don't remember the reason he stabs him in the back, but I'm just gonna say like Darth Vader stabs him in the back type of thing.
He stabs him in the back sexually. It's they had a very close relationship. He stabbed him with his lightsaber, if you know what I mean. No. Yeah. And instead of Luke, I am your father, it's Luke, I'm gay.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
Okay, so that's cool. I got your predictions of what will happen.
Am I close on any of these, or not even close?
You got some things right. You got some things wrong.
I feel like though you're just saying that because you don't want to say yeah,
I'm trying to be as vague as possible. No, legitimately, you did get some things that were pretty close, and I'm like, oh wow, with like zero context, that's kind of cool. I did mention that Star Wars and Gundam both took a lot of inspiration from World War II, so that's interesting. Like on what do you think I meant by what do you think I meant World War II? Because a lot of things happened in World War II.
So maybe there's like, because the biggest thing about Hitler is obviously he tried to completely obliterate like the Jewish people. So I'm gonna say pre-Disney, anyways. That Star Wars, that there's gonna be a certain thing that like Darth Vader tried to completely obliterate in Star Wars. That's completely, that's like concentration camps or something like that.
Okay. That is because, as I said, there's a couple things in Star Wars that are a lot darker, and you're like, how did you watch that as a kid? And
Right.
to segue into that, Owen,
Well,
there's
there's more. I was gonna say about
oh yeah, go
the
ahead.
World War II stuff. I'm gonna guess that the way Hitler killed himself. I'm gonna guess that there's gonna be a scene where where Darth Vader is gonna try to take the easy way out, but he's gonna get interrupted, like either in the middle of it or he's just gonna decide not to do it, type of thing.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna guess too. I remember a big thing about like Hitler was he was very poor. I mean, I knew that anyways about like Anakin, but the people that like were taking care of him, it was implied that they were Jewish. So like probably screwed up Hitler long term, like thinking like, oh, these people have all this great stuff. So like, I'm gonna say that like, Anakin's caretakers like had there's gonna be something that like he won't like about them as a kid. That's gonna change his perception about life in the future.
Okay.
Yeah,
Again, a couple things wrong. You are definitely right that like Anakin's position that you see him in when he's a little kid definitely informs his actions later on. I mean that's vague because I think that's how most people are. Believe it or not, your childhood affects who you become when you're an adult. Which is the whole point of seeing the prequels. How he became big old meanie head. And speaking of being a meanie head, Owen, there's two quotes. Well, one of them you just knew already because it's impossible to avoid.
Right.
And one of them is because I love talking about murdering children, apparently. Because we watch a lot of shows that are like about kids, and whenever they're in like a dangerous situation, I just constantly fucking bring this quote up.
So yeah.
So one of the quotes is, Luke, I am your father. And the one I keep fucking referencing in our videos is, I killed them all. And not just the men, but the women and the children too. So what's the context for those two quotes, Owen? Who said them? Why'd they say them? Well, obviously, we know why. Well, actually, we don't know why. Why did Darth Vader say, Luke, I'm your dad?
Oh, I think this is pretty common. Like, I'm pretty sure was Luke gonna like was Luke about to kill him, but he like wanted to see like a face to like kill him, and then Luke says, I am your father," or something like that.
Okay.
So like it made like, because I remember I think that I did see this like in the beginning. I remember there's a scene between like him and Yoda where like he's debating whether or not he even wants to like kill his father, type of thing. So like that made him like hesitate to kill his father, and I'm assuming like I didn't see the end of it. Or like I've never seen that part of it, but I assume like him not doing it like then like fucked up everything else, type of thing. So.
All right, and why? So like so you obviously Luke didn't know Darth Vader was his dad. Who do you think his dad was then? Or did he not know his dad? Kind of a Goku situation where he doesn't even know what his parents were.
I think in the prequel, we're gonna like meet. I think before Darth Vader became like a villain, he met like the person like Luke's mom type of thing, and I think like Darth Vader kept like pushing closer and closer to the dark side. That his mom like escaped an abandoned ship and took like Luke with him, and like went like off. I was gonna say off the grid, but that doesn't really apply here. But whatever space reference you can like say would be
okay. So you think Luke's mom basically was had Luke as a baby or was pregnant with him, left Vader because he was a dickhead, and then like just didn't tell him about Darth Vader.
Like didn't tell like his mom didn't tell him about Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm saying is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, but I think she would have had to have the baby like before she left though, because obviously Darth Vader like knew who he was. It'd be kind of weird if like it's just it's like some random guy that's not even it's not even like his son after all that. So
yeah. Okay. And
unless they do a thing later where like Darth Vader just said that just for the lulz type of thing, but I don't think
Right.
that's the
Well,
case.
to be fair, I did say Anakin Skywalker and Luke Skywalker. They obviously got the same last name. So this guy shows up and he's like, "Wait a minute, it's probably a coincidence."
Yeah, but I think she had the kid like before like she took off type of thing.
Well, actually, Owen, that's a point I didn't even think about. So obviously, his name is Anakin Skywalker, and obviously later he calls himself Darth Vader. What's up with that? Why is he? Why he changed his name? Just felt like it. He's like, I'm going to go to the registry and change my birth certificate.
I think he wanted, to, I'm pretty sure that, because I remember like, we meet his mom in like the past type of thing.
Okay.
I'm pretty
Luke's
sure
mom or Anakin's mom?
Anakin's mom.
Okay.
I think he didn't want his mom to like know that it was like him to like disgrace like his family's thing, so he wanted to like make a legacy for like himself type of thing.
Okay.
Because the whole thing is he wants to have like an adventure, and I think he wanted to do it not under his name, not under. He didn't want to make like his family like look like they were villains. He wanted to kind of carve out his own name type of thing.
Okay. So he knows he's doing wrong. Then is what you're saying. Like he was like he doesn't think he's doing the right thing. Like he thinks he's being evil.
Yeah. So he just wants to like not drag his family into it type of thing. So like him,
Okay.
he's using like an alias name. Again, could be totally off the mark there type of thing. So
You got some things right, you got some things wrong. Okay, so obviously that's the "I am your father" thing. Again, that that because everyone and their fucking mother knows it. Everyone and their father, one might say, haha. But I killed them all thing. You only know that because I've been fucking saying it a shit ton. What's the context for that? Who said it? Why'd they kill all the men? Why'd they kill all the women? And why'd they kill all the children? Owen? And how do you think that person said it? Were they happy? Like, oh my god, I just killed everyone. Or are they angry? Or are they sad? What's up with that?
I think Darth Vader did it. I think he did it to like take over like a space colony and all that type of stuff. And I think he was like he wasn't happy when he said it, but he was like he was villainous. He was angry when he said it. Like he
Okay.
But I do think he got some delight out of like doing it type of thing. Like he didn't really
And what point do you think he said that? Do you think he said it like during the originals or during the prequels, or when do you think he killed them all?
I'm gonna go out
And
on a limb.
we already said a space colony. Never mind.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say that it's gonna be during the prequels, and it's gonna be like in the middle of like the second movie type of thing. It's gonna be like one of the things that like Darth Vader like does. That's like a big like heel turn for him type of thing. So
Okay. So you'll think he'll become like a villain halfway through the prequels? Okay, that's interesting. And do you think he was like a good person before that? Because you said he wanted to go like on an adventure and he didn't want to like disgrace his family. Do you think he was always kind of like a little psycho, or do you think there was like a bit of good in him before that?
I think there was a bit of good in him before that. I think probably something. I'm gonna say something tragic happened to him during this space travel at the end of the first movie. That and I think you're gonna like. I think there's gonna be something where like there's gonna be like he'll get like there'll be a look that he gives that like you're gonna be like, yep, this is gonna be the moment that like it's not the actual moment, but it's like the starting point of him becoming like Darth Vader.
Yeah, kind of like in Better Call Saul, the end of season 1, where he's like driving away and he's like, what, I'm never gonna let the right thing stop me again.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting, because he obviously got some people like Saul or Zuko, where they started off good and they became bad. Or in like Harry Potter, you got Voldemort, who was always a little psycho. Even as a little kid, there was always something off about him. So I was interested to see like what you thought Vader was in, what camp he was in.
And I'm gonna say too, like in the second movie, like it looks. I think they're gonna take like the Better Call Saul like approach, where like at first Saul was gonna go down the wrong path, but then he kind of picked himself back up again. But then like him being in a good position, he wasn't working out for him type of thing.
Right. So you think Vader will kind of take a dip into like the dark side, then he'll kind of come back from it, and then eventually like fall down again.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think there'll be like what do you think will be that like that thing that sends him down? You know, because and obviously, you know, he gets injured somehow. Do you think that's related to his you know, becoming evil? And when do you think he gets that suit?
The end of the second movie, the second of the prequels.
Okay, prequels. Okay.
That's gonna be like a big reveal at the end type of thing.
Okay.
I feel like he'll be out of commission in like the beginning. No, hold on. Because I'm saying maybe not the end, maybe like in the middle of the last one then. Because I'm trying to think. I think something's gonna happen to him at the end of the second movie that puts him like in a bad position. And like,
okay, so like, yes, he'll get injured at the end of the second one. He'll be like out of commission at the beginning of the third, and then like he'll get the reveal of like the suit at the like midway through the third one.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long's each movie too? Because
hours each.
Okay. Yeah, that's fitting. Because I'm thinking, you know.
And I just thought of this question. I guess what do you think the gaps are between movies? Like, do you think they're all set right after each other? Is there any like time gaps in between?
That's what I was gonna say. I think in between the second and third like movie of the prequels, I think there's gonna be a gap. Like, there's clearly a gap between the first and the second of the prequels because he starts off as a kid in those
right.
ones. So
yeah,
obviously, I don't know. I'm gonna say like, maybe like, let's see. I know it's kind of tough because he starts off as a kid and he's like an adult in like the prequels. So like there has to be a pretty significant like gap. I think we see him at the end. He's like a teenager at the end of the first one. So there's a couple there's some gaps in the first one, and then like the second one he's like late. He's like early 20s, mid 20s, and then like at the end he's like in his late 30s.
Okay. So you think you know, about like a 10-year gap between first and second one, and then like another like 15 years in between second and third.
Yeah.
What about the originals? Because obviously, you know, Luke is, you know, not a baby, you know, right. when the originals start.
So I think Darth Vader is probably mid 30s, late 30s. I think Luke. He's like in his late. He's like I'm trying to think if 20s would make sense if he's 40. In late 40s. Yeah, I think late 40s. He could be 20. I think that's pretty relatable.
Okay.
And then I think there's probably going to be a time jump between the first movie of like the original and the second movie, and then like I think 5 and 6 take place like right after each other.
Okay. So you know we've kind of gone over like memories from kids because we've talked about TV shows and stuff. Oh yeah, two things I wanted to mention because I mentioned it to you before. Pixar, because we're reviewing Toy Story soon, was actually started by George Lucas, who you know was the guy who made Star Wars. And then it was bought by somebody else like a couple years later. But you know, we wouldn't have Pixar without George Lucas, who made Star Wars. So that's a little fun connection. And Harrison Ford, who's a pretty big actor, this was his Star Wars was his like kind of a breakout movie. He was actually a carpenter for Star Wars. Like he wasn't even an actor at first. He was just like a carpenter for the movie.
All right.
And then he auditioned for a role, and that kind of became his breakout role. Which is funny because nowadays he hates Star Wars.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but you know, he went on to do Indiana Jones, and he loves doing Indiana Jones because he thinks it's kind of like you were saying with Dan Schneider. He thinks Star Wars is kind of nerdy, and in Indiana Jones, he's like a fucking badass. So he likes being in Indiana Jones.
So
Because George Lucas also it wasn't involved in Indiana Jones.
why does he hate Star Wars now?
But like I was saying, he thinks it's kind of nerdy and like he doesn't like that it's like the main thing he's doing.
Okay.
But he really likes Indiana Jones. Like he loved playing Indiana Jones because those are around the same time.
Yeah.
I think Indiana Jones was like 81 or something, like only a couple years later.
So what's your question?
Those weren't questions. I just wanted to. I forgot to say them earlier, like the
Oh yeah.
like how Star Wars influenced things. George Lucas, who made Star Wars, made Pixar, and this movie kind of like made Harrison Ford such a big name actor.
And it's kind of
because, as I said, he was just a carpenter, and then he auditioned for a role in Star Wars, and that became fucking huge.
And it's kind of cool, that George Lucas made Pixar and made Star Wars, and that kind of made Pixar like a big success and everything like that. So
yeah, and that's pretty much it for questions. There's a couple just other things I wanted to say. So as we talked about, Disney now owns Star Wars, which kind of unfortunate because I really like Star Wars. There's the first 6 movies. And then there's also a bunch of other stuff because Owen, I'm pretty sure like I watched like a TV show of Star Wars when I was a kid. They have like comic books and video games. The TV show that I watched as a kid is called The Clone Wars, and that's set at some point. I won't say when. And there's also Knights of the Old Republic, which is a video game that is set like 3,000 years in the past. Like it is super far away from the movies. So I'm okay saying it because like I said, it's super fucking far away from it. And there was something called the Clone Wars Multimedia Project, which was around the time some of the movies were coming out. They literally had a multimedia project, which is all about like filling a gap between some of the movies.
Yeah,
like there's a time jump in between a couple of movies, and it was like, okay, this like all that stuff that happened in between movies. We'll talk about it in like books, comic books, video games, which was really cool to me as a kid. It's like, oh wow, we kind of see like what the characters are doing, in between movies, which was really cool. So just the point is like Star Wars was like a big thing. Like it wasn't just the movies; it was like in everything. And like then Disney bought Star Wars in 2012 for $4 billion, literally $4 billion. And then they said a lot of that stuff didn't happen. They threw it out. Doesn't count anymore. We're only going off of the 6 movies, and like we're going to do our own thing. And the big thing that they did was they made 3 new movies, sequels set after the original trilogy. And they're movies. As I said to you, everyone loves the originals. The prequels are a lot more divided. Some people love them, some people hate them. I feel like more people hated them than loved them. But then the sequels came out, and a lot of people went back to the prequels, and it's like, you know what? These aren't as bad.
So how do you? Where do you kind of stand on that then? Like when it comes,
I always liked them.
Okay.
I always liked them. It's because like I was younger then, so like a lot of kids who liked the prequels were kids then, and a lot of like the adults who were kids when the originals came out didn't like the prequels.
Yeah. So like, have you gone back and watched them as an adult, and like,
Yeah, and one of those interesting things were like, in some ways, there's a lot of flaws with the prequels, but in a lot of ways, there's a lot of things that like I appreciate now more as an adult.
I do gotta ask this about the prequels because sometimes people say it's problematic. Is there something that, like in Better Call Saul, the biggest thing they made sure of was like everything they did in the prequel, and Better Call Saul tied into Breaking Bad. Is it?
Yeah, some of it definitely is kind of like weird and like not like outright contradictions, but like they'll say some things in the originals, and it's like I can kind of see that in the prequels, but you're kind of stretching it a bit.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that, like kind of a weird comparison, but like with OVB, where like some of that tie-ins, like was that them tying stuff now, or is that?
Yeah, some of that like doesn't fit quite well. Like you can kind of make it fit, but like you're kind of stretching it. Like I have a hard time believing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think a lot of people for the prequels, a lot of them didn't like it was more like political, but like not in a bad way. Some movies are like political and that like they're just like I don't know, it's in a bad way. But like I think it did like it made sense. Like, it's a war. You're kind of getting like the the more behind the scenes stuff in the wars.
Yeah.
And also a lot of people like the acting in the prequels, which, to be fair, some of the acting in the prequels is not great.
That's fair.
And CGI was getting really big around that time, and so the prequels had a lot more CGI than a lot of it doesn't hold up as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which, to be fair, I feel like that one's an overblown criticism, because even though the prequels did have a lot of CGI, they actually each prequel movie had more practical effects than all of the original trilogy combined. Well, in that I mean there's more miniatures, more actual sets.
Okay.
So there is more CGI in the prequels, but there's also more practical shit too.
Yeah.
A lot of that just comes from the fact that the prequels had more budget.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because the first movie is obviously, it's your first movie. You're not gonna have as big of a budget.
Oh yeah, the first Star Wars movie fucking almost didn't even happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the prequels definitely had problems, but overall, I really like them a lot. And like I said, we got a lot of cool shit from the prequels, a lot of extra stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The sequels were pretty bad, and also a lot of the stuff that we've gotten from them have also been pretty bad.
What do you mean by gotten from them? Storyline?
A lot of the shows that have come out, a lot of the books that have come out have not been great.
What about Mandalorian? Because, I had mentioned I watched that. Is that from the sequels, or was that from the original?
Yeah, so Disney made it, but that wasn't even, that's, not set during the sequels.
Okay.
And also, The Mandalorian's pretty good, but, that's, a diamond in the rough kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, Mandalorian's pretty good, but a lot of the other shows they made on Disney Plus have been great.
Because the biggest thing I remember about The Mandalorian, too, is that the actor Giancarlo Esposito, or whatever his name is, Gus is in that movie, and he's pretty much Gus in that movie. So
yeah, I think I was the one who told you that. He's in that show, and he's pretty much Gus. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there were you just saying facts about the?
Yeah, I said I'm out of questions, and now I'm just kind of explaining a couple things.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of times when I bring up Star Wars, watching it with you, I've mentioned the originals and the prequels and maybe a couple other little things. Where I don't really mention the sequels just because I'm they're there. Yeah. And like I was saying, they're set after the originals, and I'm a little bummed about it because there used to be a whole bunch of books and video games and comic books kind of going over what happened after the originals. But once Disney bought them, they were it kind of just threw them out. None of that shit happened. We're doing our own thing.
But we can actually find them, though. They're not deleted anywhere.
Yeah, we can find them. And that's why I'm you know what? Honestly, I don't even really consider the sequels, canon. I prefer all the stuff they made before.
Yeah, that's fair. We gotta
review this. That's a lot of people are oh, I don't care about them because Disney said they're not real. I'm I don't give a shit what Disney says.
Right.
I consider that more true than the Disney stuff. So I prefer what and that's not to say those were perfect. There's plenty of bad things in there too, but definitely more good than Disney stuff. I feel like
I mentioned the Michael Myers Halloween movies, one happens, and then you could either just be done after one, or you can watch this. There's been movies where they've thrown stuff away. There's been movies that take place after the other, so it's kind of like the Star Wars method type of thing. Where
you can kind of pick and choose on what you like. Like I said, a lot of the books and comic book and video games they made before Disney bought them, kind of going over what happened after the originals ended. I like a lot of those. I really like those. And like I said, there's also stuff the Knights of the Old Republic that's set way in the past before any of the movies happened. And I really like that. And I don't give a shit. And I don't give a shit that Disney said it didn't happen. It happened to me. So fuck you.
I hate to say this, but in the Netflix Death Note, that's gonna to some people they're never gonna know about the anime. That's gonna be the only experience to Death Note.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the fucking Netflix thing. I'm I don't give a shit that it's called Death Note. not Death Note to me. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Well,
Or there's a video game called Force Unleashed, which is about Darth Vader had like a student, and Disney said that didn't happen. I'm like, fuck you. It's really cool. I like it. I don't give a shit what you say.
Yeah. But yeah, are we gonna review the sequels though? Because we did say we want to do more bad stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I'm down for that. Well, again, it'll depend on if you like any of the good Star Wars.
Right.
And keep in mind, you could like the sequels. And I'm like, I'll be very surprised if you do, but if you do, then cool.
When we review the sequels, though, should we watch all that other stuff to kind of like... Cause
that's what I was going to say. I feel like we should watch some of the other stuff so you kind of get my perspective.
Yeah.
And to be fair, even ignoring all that other stuff I like, just going off the sequels, ignoring all the video games and comic books I do like, I still don't like the sequels.
I know, but that's like one of the reasons you don't like the sequels, and I feel like that'd be left.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I need to point out that, like, if someone said, "Oh, you only don't like them because you like the other stuff more," and I'm like, no. Even ignoring the other stuff, I don't like the sequels.
But when we do the video, though, it'd be kind of weird for us to do the video and then not mentioning that other stuff.
Well, kind of like the Netflix Death Note. It's like, okay, if we're ignoring the anime, it still sucks. Like, I like the anime, so I hate it more. But even ignoring the Death Note I like, it's still a shitty movie.
Yeah, I guess it.
Or The Last Airbender. Even if you've never seen The Last Airbender show, it's still a bad movie.
I know that the Death Note one's kind of hard because that's like one of the main reasons I don't like the Death Note movie. So
yeah,
but yeah, it still is a bad movie though.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like even if you hadn't seen like Death Note the show, I feel like you still wouldn't like the Netflix
Probably
movie.
not. I guess it's kind of
You
tough.
probably wouldn't hate it as much, but it still wouldn't be good.
Yeah, that's what's tough, because that's the main reason I hate it. But yeah, it's still not, like, the effects aren't great in that movie, the acting's not great in that movie. It's kind of weird. I feel like I still wouldn't like Light in that movie. The main reason I don't like Light in that movie is because
you don't like him because like Light Yagami is so cool, but like even then, Light Turner is such a bitch in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I probably still would get upset. That they pretty much talk about like this, like the Death Note, like around other people. I probably would still, that would probably still upset me, even if I haven't seen the anime and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so I'm interested. I think you'll like the originals. Again, I'd be surprised if you didn't, but if you don't, that's cool. And I'm really interested in the prequels because, like I said, that's very divisive. A lot of people hate them. A lot of people like them. So I'm interested in how you will feel about them.
Is there one prequel that you hate, but you like other prequels, or no?
Okay, so there's 3 prequel movies. First one is a little rough at some points. Second one I like, but again, couple rough points. And the third prequel movie is my favorite Star Wars movie, out of all of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And
I feel like that one's not uncommon. I feel like a lot of people like the third prequel movie.
Okay. That's kind of interesting, too, because they have to, it kind of has to... I mean, I'm not, make up for the mistakes that, people have in, the first 2 prequel movies, so...
Yeah. So I guess the way I put it is, all the originals are, A+. The first 2 prequel movies are, B. The third prequel movie is, an S tier. I love it. My favorite. And then I hate all of the sequels.
So they're all, Fs?
And the first one maybe is, a C. But then the second 2...
Not a D?
I said like a C to a D. If I'm ignoring literally everything that before this first sequel, I'm it's its own thing, just ignoring everything else, I'm okay, I can maybe a C if I'm being generous.
What if you weren't ignoring it?
Oh, then F. It's a bad sequel.
Okay.
I can't really go into why it's a bad sequel, but it's a bad sequel.
And then the question I guess the question I have is, since the prequels are about him becoming Darth Vader, is there anything they do in the prequels that make it kind of tough, or do they get the do they handle the Darth Vader thing in the prequels?
That's what I was gonna say. I think another reason why a lot of people don't like the prequels is they have a hard time believing it's the same guy.
Okay.
Like people don't buy that's his backstory.
Okay. Well, what about the?
I like the backstory. Like I was telling you, Darth Vader, my favorite character of all time.
Is it kind of like?
I mean, of all time, movies, video games, anime, cartoons, live action show. It's Darth Vader. He's my favorite.
Do they not like that character too? Like, kind of with me, like I mentioned before, I don't like adult Lottie like in Yellow Jackets because I can't buy that. That's like how Lottie grows up to be. Like,
yeah, I think that's why a lot of people don't like him. Is like they just don't buy it's the same guy.
Yeah, which is kind of cool because like I'll get to see it like reversed. I'll get to see Darth Vader like as an adult first.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people, because for me when I was younger, like I saw them all around the same time because my dad liked them.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, it was a pretty smooth transition. But for a lot of people, remember, the originals came out in the 70s.
Right.
And the prequels came out in, like, the late 90s. That's a 20-year gap. So for a lot of people, they had this idea of, like, how Darth Vader became who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for a lot of people, they just didn't buy that's, like, how he became Darth Vader.
Okay.
And, like, I don't think they're, like, necessarily... I mean, I like it. But
yeah, we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, again, it's like I kind of got to be vague. So I'm just saying, like, the people who hate the prequels, I get it. Like it's not for everyone, definitely. And as for people who like the sequels, listen, more power to you. I don't see it. I don't get it. I dated a girl who liked the sequels and hated the prequels, and I'm like, okay, I kind of get why you don't like the prequels. I don't understand why you like the sequels. They suck.
I mean, I don't know, AJ. You're not dating this girl now, so I don't know if you.
Yeah, that's the thing. We ended up breaking up, so honestly, that should say something.
I do have to ask though. I assume
that girl also said I reminded me of her father, and I'm like, you know what? That was a red flag in hindsight.
Yeah, I do want to say too. Say I don't like the first prequel. I assume I'm just gonna have to stick it out the next two prequels because once I watch the first prequels, I probably have to watch the other two prequels.
Yeah, that's what. Okay, I'm like, okay, listen. If we get through through the three original movies and start the prequels, you're in it. I'm if we watch the first Star Wars movie and you're like, listen, man, this ain't for me. I'm be like, okay, fine. We didn't get very far into it. That's fine. But if we get like a couple movies in, I'm like, no, fuck you. You're committed now. We're doing this.
Well, I'm gonna like extend it out, like just like really drag it out, like with like just. I mean, I'm not saying this happened, but like forget to record the review or.
Yeah, I know, right? You're like, oh well, I guess we can't do it now. Oh well.
Or like schedule something so we don't do the video type of thing. So
yeah, I know. Yeah. Listen, I mean, you very well might not like them. Like I think it's kind of I like them, but I get if you don't, I can see that.
Yeah, let's see. But yeah, let's continue talking type of thing.
Yeah, I just have a couple more things. I'm just gonna say weird shit out of context. Because in Dragon Ball, I meant to do a couple of those, but we just kind of ran out of time. And I think the one thing we got to was like, hey, remember? I don't know if you saw this episode where Goku was like dead, and he just fell down to hell. And you're like, how did he fall to hell? And he's like, I don't know, I just fell asleep.
I think
you're like, what?
I think he had like other ones like planned, and then like that was just
yeah. I had a few ones planned, and then that was like the only one we got to.
Yeah. So
and I was like, oh, so that's a bottle episode. So he like got out of hell at the end of the episode.
But I was just like, wait, how did he get to hell? Type of thing. Like
I was like, yeah, he was dead. And he like fell asleep and he fell down.
I think that just changed your perception.
Like, oh my god!
I think that just changed your perception on life too, because like everyone says you can just get to heaven. You fight to get to heaven, and you don't want to go to hell, and then like you're in heaven, and somehow you can just fall into hell. Like wait, then
that was literally the plot. Is like for the episode, Goku fell asleep and then he fucking fell down to hell.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was funny. But yeah, because we our one of our favorite shows ever is Kiss Sis. Owen, how many times do you think a brother and sister kiss in Star Wars?
It's had to happen enough. 7.
More than one, and that's already the downside.
So I'm gonna say 7.
That's a lot. Not quite that many times, but
I feel like
more than
because I feel like it can't be 2 because like I feel like once no one would really talk about it again. I'm gonna say 7 because like I was thinking 5 and I'm like feel like you have a couple hours to fit it. You gotta fill some time. 7 will fill that. 7 will fill that time. Are we just counting the originals, by the way? Are we counting like are we counting the sequels too?
Oh, the sequels. Okay, that became a meme because like Disney had two characters kiss, and like they clearly didn't think, huh?
So this did happen in Disney.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So this is the whole thing. So in Disney, they had two characters kiss, and then there's kind of like, it's kind of vague, but they might be related. And like clearly Disney didn't think about that.
Then I'm gonna say 12.
Okay, but they're not brother and sister. But clearly Disney didn't think about that because they're like, it's implied they might be related somehow.
Ooh, so then 12 then, because I feel like we're gonna get a lot more of those. We'll stick to the original guess of 7 though, but now that you just told me that, I'm gonna say like 12. I
up at 12. Yeah. Okay. I shall not confirm nor deny. I shall not say who. But yes.
Did you ever see the episode, by the way, of Rick and Morty, where like they get taken over by aliens on like their face, and then like they're dating, but like it's like as if like Rick and Morty are like dating type of thing, cause like but they're not.
I do not know that one.
Oh, so that episode's gonna be into it. That episode will.
Yeah, a lot of people were kind of weirded out how much incest is in Rick and Morty.
There's a big one. That's
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
In Star Wars, it's one of those things where it's like you can kind of just tell they didn't plan out a couple things.
Okay.
And you know, it's hard to explain, but you'll get to it when you get to it. Okay, Owen. So as I was saying, you know, there's a World War II, a lot of World War II references to Star Wars, or like inspiration. There's a big empire, and you know, they're pretty powerful, Owen. Pretty powerful space empire, you know. You got to think, there's some pretty powerful empires on Earth, and you know, it's only one planet. This is a space empire. They got multiple planets and starships and lightsabers and shit. They're pretty powerful. As I said, they can like destroy planets. Oh, and they're a powerful empire. But do you think this empire can defeat a Build-A-Bear?
Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
Owen, Build-A-Bears, they're pretty durable, Owen, I will say.
So that there's gonna be something there that there's something to that.
That is all I shall say. Surprisingly, Owen, this is in one of the good Star Wars movies. It's one of the parts that people don't like about the good movies, but
wait, this isn't the good one. This isn't one of the good movies.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna assume is it in the?
Listen, I never said the Star Wars movies were perfect.
Is it in the prequel? Is it in the movie we're gonna review? Okay.
We'll get to it when we get to it. There's a Christmas special, Owen, and I shit you not, it has all the actors in it. It was made after the first one, and it's a Christmas special. And I shit you not, George Lucas has said if he had the time and the money and the resources, he would hunt down every copy
You've told me
special and destroy them with a sledgehammer.
Can we find this anywhere?
Online, because he is, again, as I said, he has made it his fucking life's mission to make sure like real copies of them do not see the light of day.
So you can't even, could you find this on Disney Plus?
No. Again, he is personally ashamed of this. He is like, why the fuck did I make this? And again, it's so funny because they got all the original actors in it for everything. It's like they really got everyone. They got the whole band together for this thing.
Do you like it?
In the same way I like Riverdale.
Okay.
Where I'm like, boy, this is interesting. This is an interesting thing they've made. Okay. And like I was saying, in one of our things, and kind of how Javi like disappears and he comes back and he's like, "Hey guys, I found like Civilization a while ago." And one of like the Star Wars cartoons, Anakin, he's chilling with his buddy. His buddy's pretty upset because they've been like, stuck in this one spot for a while. They're trying to get into this city, because that's a war. And Anakin shows up and he's like, "Hey, Anakin, where have you been?" He's like, "Oh, that city over there that we've been trying to get into for a while. I got in there, and I came back." And he just and he's like eating some bugs that he got from the city. And his friend's like, "Why are you eating bugs?" And he's like, "I don't know. They taste pretty good."
Yeah, I can't wait to see what that's about.
Yeah. And I already talked about the sequel, so I kind of just leave that be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's Star Wars.
We ended it on Anakin ate some bugs, and he pulled a Javi. He disappeared for a while, and he came back, and he's like, "Hey, I kind of just like got into that city."
Is he gone for like a few episodes and then comes back, or like is it just a one-time joke?
It's a one-time joke. Like the episode starts off, his friend's pretty upset because they've been trying to get into the city for like a month.
Yeah.
And then Anakin shows up, and he's like, "Anakin, where the fuck have you been?" And he's like, "Oh, you know that city we've been trying to get into? Oh, yeah, I got into it."
I mean, they're doing a whole storyline with Javi right now where he's missing. He's been missing.
I know, right? That's what I'm saying. It was funny that we were doing the Javi thing because they make that joke in Star Wars.
He's been
where he leaves for a while and he comes back and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got the thing we've been trying to find."
He's been missing Javi's been missing for 2 months.
Right. That's what I was saying. It's like the joke is like Javi like got back to civilization. He just didn't tell anybody. That's basically what happens with Anakin.
Yeah, that's awesome. We never found out what Javi was making, by the way. Like, you remember he's supposed to be making something. He never made. I don't think he made it.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, it's funny because in Yellow Jackets they were also eating bugs. So you know what? Evens out.
Yeah. You ever notice too? Javi's kind of like we need the plot to happen type of character because he needed to make something so that way Shauna could hide a journal so Jackie would find it. So
yeah, and he's the one who like makes the seance kind of take a bad turn.
Yeah. So Javi's kind of like. Javi's just kind of like there, so like shit can go on type of thing.
Yeah, well, he's there to make sure. He's only there when shit. Yeah, like literally, like, he's not there unless he's needed to.
What did you notice?
Shit.
He disappeared for a few episodes, like after the seance. He wasn't allowed to be in it no more.
I know, like yeah. Again, it's like okay, Javi, you did your job. We'll come back to you next time we need some shit to go wrong.
I mean, did you notice? Like Coach Ben even says, "Why don't you dance with Javi?" That's kind of when Coach Ben and Misty's relationship's kind of taking like a downturn.
Yeah. Javi's he's like Adam, just showing up when the things go bad.
Javi's awesome. So Anakin's gonna do the same thing.
Sure, kind of, not really. So yeah, that is it for our Star Wars guessing game. That went longer than I thought it was gonna, but that was fun to like talk about because you did not know as much as Van Ten in Dragon Ball.
Yeah. Did I know more than you thought or no?
You made some good guesses based on what little you had.
Yeah. I think you've noticed when I don't know absolutely anything, I have a tendency to ramble like a lot. So I think that's why this video went longer than you thought. Like when I don't know anything. So that's why I want to see this reversed. I want to see how long the video would be.
Right. Where I have to be the one to kind of grasp at straws. Yeah. But this was fun, and again, I'm really looking forward to the movie because this is such a big movie, and I'm like, I can't believe you haven't seen it before.
Well, I have, just like not recent. Like again, I said I think I watched one of them when I was like really young, type of thing.
Yeah, because obviously, like I said, my dad was into Star Wars, so like I watched them with him when I was really little.
I don't think my dad really was until like probably later on, type of thing. So that's probably why. So
yeah, and like. I got into other space stuff too because I watched like Starship Troopers when I was a kid with my dad, and that's a movie you should not watch when you're like 5. That is a fucking hard R movie.
Okay.
But that's like very similar to Star Wars, but it's like more fucked up.
Yeah.
And then as I said, from there I got into like stuff like Gundam.
But I'm looking forward to watching Star Wars. We're gonna do the review. I don't know when yet. We'll probably have to schedule that when we end this call. But I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen Star Wars before. A lot of my friends like Star Wars, so it's just kind of a shock I haven't watched it yet, kind of, because a lot of my friends like it. I guess because when my friends and I get together too, we typically watch wrestling, so that's why we probably
right.
So but I'm looking forward to sitting down and watching it. And this would be great because you can make the Star Wars references now in the videos. And,
yeah. Well, again, keep in mind, it's if you like the first one. If you don't like it, then I guess we end it there.
Also, none of the references you'll be making even tie into the first one at all. So.
Yeah, I know, right? I Am Your Father and I Killed Them All aren't in the first one, so you all have no fucking clue.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it, and this times out really well because we're doing Toy Story, which is probably pick other than Star Wars, like Pixar's like second most popular movie that they've made. So
And like I said, I'm glad because we're doing Avatar. I'm glad we did Star Wars before we got the book too, because like I said, the Guru and Crossroads of Destiny is like heavily Star Wars inspired.
So before we do book 2, if I like Star Wars enough, we'll have to review those movies so I can.
Yeah, I mean, book 2's a ways off. So I was just saying, like, I'm glad, like, if we're doing Star Wars, we didn't wait till like after we did that.
Yeah, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys.
Yeah, I look forward to our Star Wars review as well as our other reviews of other shows.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. We talk to you guys later.